What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a good day as always. So today I want to take time to answer a viewer comment, and that comes from Cloudburst Leah, who had asked some questions about secured credit cards and how to approach them. So that's what I want to do today. Now, as always, guys, if you've got questions of your own, please always put a comment in the comment section below, and I will let you know if I'm able to get to that video. Please allow, a couple days, maybe even weeks even, before I get to it, but I'm happy to do this going forward. But either way, let's get started with today's video. So secured credit cards, in case you don't know what they are credit cards issued by financial institutions where you have money locked up in an account that acts as collateral for the credit card itself. That's what makes it secured. Normally when you get a credit card, it's just that, right? You get a credit card, it has a limit, and you pay it off, no big deal. Well, if you don't have a whole lot of credit, or maybe you just started a new job, regardless of what the situation may be, if you're not approved for a normal credit card, you may go the route of a secured card, and that just requires you to lock up and keep money in that bank account to act as collateral or reserves, and that really just lowers the risk for the bank. And so what I want to do next is break down some of the benefits and some of the negatives to a secured credit card. Overall, I think they are a very, very good option for those that kind of need to go this route. However, I don't think it's for everyone, and so hopefully at the end of this video, you can make a better decision yourself in case this is something you were thinking about doing. Now, to start off with the benefits, let's go ahead and look at the biggest draw, and that is more than likely you are going to be approved for this request. And I say more than likely because every now and then there's that chance where, for whatever reason, a denial will come through on a secured credit card. Back when I worked at the credit union, I almost never saw this, but it does happen every now and then. And the reason why you're almost always going to be approved for this is because the risk is almost nothing to the lending institution, because they've got money locked up in an account where if you don't pay it, well, they're just going to take away that money and close out the credit card. So it's much, much lower of a risk for a lending institution, and therefore those high approval odds are really, really a positive for those that have been denied in the past when they apply for other credit cards. So that's honestly, to me, the main benefit. The other benefit is that it will build your credit just like any normal credit card would. Meaning, like, if you get a secured credit card, maybe when you log into your account, you see, whatever your bank is, secured credit card, and you've got money tied up in your savings account for that. But if you look at your credit report, it's just going to say Visa credit card or Capital One credit card, or wherever your bank is, you're just going to see a normal credit card being reported. There's nothing that distinguishes it from another credit card other than what the bank does to the funds which they tie up. So that's another huge benefit. It will build your credit just as much as any other card will. Now, the last benefit that I want to talk about isn't necessarily an inherent benefit of the card itself or the process, but the way I honestly looked at it, especially for those that were applying with me back in the day at the credit union for secured credit cards, one thing I would always tell them is, if they were kind of hesitant to do this because it locks up money in the account, I totally understood that, but I also let them know, in a weird sort of way, it's almost like you're forcing yourself to build up a savings account, right? Because you cannot touch that money, it's not going to go anywhere, and it's just going to accrue interest, and that's a good thing. So if you're someone that finds it difficult to save money, a secured credit card will force you to do that, especially if you look at the fact that the majority of lending institutions require you to put that same amount as your limit, or even more so, in an account. Like, you could be seriously saving some money by having $500 to $1,000 locked up. So it may not necessarily feel good that it's locked up, but there's other benefits to that. And to me, the idea that you're forcing yourself to have a savings account is a really good feature. So all in all, those are the positives. I do have more negatives to talk about, and that's not to say that overall it's a bad idea. There's just a lot of things to know about a secured credit card before getting one, so let's go ahead and dig into that. First off, even though that this is such a low-risk loan for a lending institution, they absolutely will still pull your credit. So if this is something where you've done a lot of inquiries in the past, let's say for normal credit cards with other lending institutions, and they said come back, get a secured credit card, and you do that, well, if it's been, a couple months since that last pull, well, they're probably going to do it again. It's going to count as another inquiry. It's going to ding the score a little bit. And considering a lot of people are getting secured cards to build up their score, this inquiry doesn't do anything to help. It's not a major negative, but at the end of the day, it still does ding it just a little bit, especially when you consider, I'm already fronting the money. Why do you have to pull my credit at the same time? Next, let's talk about that hold again. Even though it is, in my opinion, forcing you to have a savings account, at the end of the day, it's still not fun to have your money tied up. There's nothing you can really do about it. Even if you make nothing but on-time payments with the card, right, it's going to be locked there for as long as you have that secured credit card. Not only that, but a lot of lending institutions will require that you keep more than the limit that you have, meaning if you have a $500 secured credit card, you're probably going to have more than $500 locked up in your savings account. Back for me, when I worked at the credit union, it was 110% of the limit. And that adds up pretty quickly. If you're doing a $2,000 secured credit card, that's going to be $2,200 that you have to lock up. That's not nothing. So it's not fun to have your money tied up. I know I used it as a somewhat of a positive in the beginning, but for the majority of people, especially those that have had this for a year, it's probably going to get a little old having that money tied up. Next, let me talk about what I honestly think is the #1 negative to this, and that is changing your card type in the future. Admittedly, this is going to be dependent on the institution that you go with, but look at it this way. Let's say you've got a card, you use it consistently for 6 to 12 months, you've made all of your payments on time, you pay it in full every month, so you're using the card the right way, and you say, okay, well, I want to get a normal credit card now. Well, what if the lending institution says, okay, you have a secured credit card, you're going to have to apply again for a normal credit card and then close out that other one? Well, for a few reasons, that's not fun. It's another credit pull, it's another trade line, it means you have to close out an old card, and if you don't want to close it out, well, then you have your money tied up for longer. So potentially changing the card types in the future can be frustrating and cumbersome. Again, I think this really comes down to your due diligence when you're interviewing the right lender. I would ask them a few questions that I'm going to get into here in a little bit, but just know ahead of time that that can be a frustrating process. It's not nearly as much of an issue if they can just convert the card type on your account without having to issue another card and all that fiasco. But either way, that's going to be the #1 negative in my opinion. Now, the last two negatives that I brought up aren't a huge deal, but the fact is that even though it's a secured credit card and how I mentioned earlier that it'll build your credit the exact same way, even though you've got your money tied up, there's no real benefits to it either, right? You're not going to get a rewards secured credit card, or at least not that I've seen, and you're also not going to get a discount on your interest rate either. So even though you fronted this money, you're doing everything you can to lower the risk, there's not a whole lot of other positive upsides other than it can kind of help you build credit in the future. So, I would love it if there were some options where you can get rewards or lower rates, and I personally don't think you should be paying any interest at all on a credit card. Not because I don't expect lenders to charge rates, but I think you should pay it off in full every month and never pay interest, but that's another conversation. The main thing is right now that don't go in there expecting that you're going to have any other benefits on the secured card. The banks are still going to try to get as much interest as they possibly can. So all in all, those are the positives and the negatives, and what I want to do next is just really talk about some very basic elementary advice when it comes to secured credit cards. First off, I think it is a very, very good option to start building credit, especially let's say if you just started a new job or you don't have a whole lot of history. So much of an approval comes to income security, and going in and asking for an unsecured loan like a normal credit card when you don't have a lot of that history, in my experience, has not been a good way of getting approved. So if you've got money saved up, you can afford to set some money aside and act as collateral for a secured credit card. I really do think that in that situation, a secured credit card is a wonderful way of starting to build credit. Just know that in the long run, you're probably going to want to change types in the future, which brings me to my next point. Have a conversation with your financial institution and find out how they handle that transition in the future. Meaning, if you get your secured credit card, talk to them and say, well, you know what, I really just want to do this to build credit, but I'd rather not have my money tied up forever. So how long do I need to make positive payments before you can convert this to a normal credit card? And when that time comes, can you just release the funds in my account and, allow me to keep the same card that I have? Because that is much more preferable than having to get a brand new card number, possibly transfer any automatic payments that go through. Now have two credit cards to manage. Maybe you don't want to, so you have to close the other one out. Closing out that is going to hurt the trade line history of your credit report. So just have this conversation with them and ask them how this process works in the future, because that to me is a really, really big factor in whether or not you should do this. Another thing that I would say is absolutely still use a secured credit card like you would any other credit card. And what I mean by that is make smart financial decisions with this. I always tell anyone that's getting a credit card, or back when I worked at the credit union, always pay it in full every single month, no matter what. If you pay your card off in full, you don't pay interest. So make sure to do that. Also, if you're trying to build your credit, then make sure you pay it on time, right? I advocate paying for like 3 or 4 days in advance of your due date to ensure that there's no issues. Also, understand what capacity ratio is, and to put it really short and simply, do not spend more than like 20% of the card limit. So if you've got a $1,000 credit card, at no point in time should your card balance be over $200. If you've got a $500 limit, then at no point in time should your balance be more than $100. Keep it under that 20%. And in my opinion, less is better. So just follow the rules. It'll help you build your credit. Just don't feel like just because it's a secured credit card, it's going to build your credit no matter what. You still have to use it the right way. The last piece of advice I would say is do not get a secured credit card if you already have an established credit card. Especially if you're like trying to rebuild credit because maybe your credit's in a negative situation because of other credit cards. In my opinion, the last thing you want to do in that situation is get yet another one, right? Just focus on fixing the ones that you have now, and that will fix your credit over time. There's no need to jump into another one and possibly get yourself into more trouble in the future. So I really do think a secured credit card is a good way of starting, but not necessarily a good option of fixing the negative credit card history that you already have. I would actually say in that situation, if you're trying to rebuild your credit and even show a diversity of on-time payments for various loan types, I would actually say just get a share secured loan instead and forego the credit card route. That is an installment loan. It is much lower interest rates, almost always are approved, and it's just a different type of loan payment history on the credit report, so it may help out the score even more so than getting another credit card would. So all in all, that is just my very simple advice on secured credit cards. They are not a bad tool whatsoever. Personally, I never used one in the past, but that was because I had a history with the credit union, and I waited to apply for a credit card well until I had worked at the company for, I think it was a couple of years. And even then I started low, I didn't ask for a whole lot, so it really wasn't much of an issue. But I hope you guys found that informative, and if you've got any other questions, always put it in the comment section down below. If you have any history with secured cards yourself and I left something out, always make sure to inform others of what information you have. Also, if you have any video suggestions that you want to see in the future, definitely let me know because I'm happy to do that. But as always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share. If you feel like supporting the channel, I've got an Amazon and a Patreon link down below, and any support is greatly appreciated. But thank you so much for watching. Make smart financial decisions, and I'll see you guys next time. Hey guys, I know I just said this stuff, but let me say it again. Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate all the support that you guys give me. And to support you, here's 2 more videos that I've made in the past in case you haven't seen them. Don't forget to share these with your friends and family so we can help all the people achieve their financial goals. Likewise, if there's anything that you would want to see made that you haven't seen thus far, definitely don't hesitate to let me know. But thanks again, take care, and have a good day.